into that again. It's not a nice, funny, fuzzy feel to it. So I'll use the same colours again, but slightly stickier. For some of the closer bushes and so forth. And the same colour again, perhaps with a little ultramarine blue in it, or the rooftops. Same colour again with a bit more blue in it for a little bit of detail work. Chimneys, and these. See, that's beginning to stand out again now against the lighter background. A couple of windows. Must get the window in. There's one down here, where I would sit for hours looking at the ship boats outside.
How old were you at this time?
We used to hire yachts on the East Coast when I was 14, 15.
All right.
Yeah, quite young. And in fact, it was not long, it was about this time that I actually, I think I probably told you, I ran away to sea. Yeah.
Got one of those trousers on.
Yes. Yeah. We lived at Dovercourt, which is by Harwich, and all I wanted to do was go to sea. So one day, I made myself some, cheese and pickle sandwiches, put them in a little bag, and walked the 2 miles from where we lived to down to Harwich, down to the halfpenny pier, which is still there. You don't have to pay a halfpenny now to go onto it. I went down there, it was lunchtime, waited till the men had all gone, and climbed down this ladder on the pier, onto this boat, and hid under a tarpaulin, waiting for it to go to sea. And I waited, and nobody came back. And eventually, I ate the sandwiches and I was getting a bit hungry. So I thought, I'll go for a game of soldiers. Sailor. so I climbed back up the ladder again, got home. Of course, in those days, as children, you could go off for a whole day without parents worrying.
I bet they didn't even miss you.
No. I went. My mother said, "Oh, your tea's coming up soon," and then she went back to me and she sniffed. What's up to you? I don't know. Where have you been? You smell like a fishmonger. And of course, what I'd done was I had climbed down onto the deck and hidden under the tarpaulin of a shrimper, which only went out at 10 o'clock at night and came back at 5 o'clock in the morning. So nobody ever knew that I had actually done this. So there's a 10% barge going in. Yeah, so it was a complete utter failure.
So are you still using the same colours?
Yes, just the 2 or 3 colours, the burnt umber, the ultramarine blue, and a bit of violet. Okay, so that's, and I'm going to put this one in the foreground in now as well. This one's quite an interesting one. It's, as I say, I was asked, the Americans are very, very up their own rear ends at times, especially about yacht design, and they think that they're the best, etc., etc. They are pretty good. But they came to an Englishman to redesign this thing, which was done by Rose and Crowning Shield in the 1930s, very famous yacht design. And it's because they realised, when they read the history part of my website, so official website, that I had been, not apprentice, but I was assistant to a lad called James McGurr. James McGurr, member of the British Olympic Committee and America's Cup Committee, and we had a lot to do with the America's Cup Committee, 17, was apprenticed to a guy called Nathaniel Herreshoff, and Nathaniel Herreshoff is American, and thought of as being the granddaddy of yacht design. And so when they realised that, they sort of accepted me. So it was quite extraordinary for me to be working on what was an old and very famous American design, and upgrading it, new keel design, new rudder, everything else. So a little bit of a feather. Right, okay. I'm just going to put in now one or two reflections. Reflections usually should be darker than the actual thing itself, so I'm going to put them slightly darker. And then I'm going to drop in a little bit of red with them as well. The guy in my book, Jim, who took on this girl, Sally Brackett, he sailed up the Thames in a yacht called, it was actually called the Coconut Lady. In the book I call it the Coconut Girl, which was a lovely, lovely boat. It stank of the South Pacific and the South Seas. So as youngsters at that time, 15 years old, of course, we immediately started dreaming of palm-drenched beaches, girls wearing coconut shells, not a lot else, grass skirts. And so it just enhanced our dreams. You still have those dreams? It's not joke. Yes, you get to an age, don't you? Who was the very famous? Was it Bernard Shaw? It was such a relief when he got to an age where sex and women didn't matter anymore. It just didn't count. I haven't quite got there yet, but and of course you can't say that sort of thing in public now.
You are.
No, I know.
There's video evidence here.
Yeah. Because it's sunset, so you've got the colours. It's beautiful.
So when you were sat in the window for hours on end looking at the boats, did you think you'd end up here in Lacock?
No. It's a sad story.
Where did you go wrong?
Well, no. Medical matters. I was known at school, I was known as Commander Fisher, because I was, only from the age of 8 or whatever, I was just so nagged. My father was on the Russian convoy, as you know, and I'd inherited the photographs he had from Archangel and places like that, and when they tried to sink the Sharm Horst and lots of carrying. And I was, as I say, just absolutely mad keen on it. But unfortunately, he upstairs or whoever decided that that was not going to happen. So at the age of 14, I developed type 1 diabetes, which put the kibosh on that. I was told at the careers thing, well, the best we can do for you is we allow you to join the Navy. Which,
Didn't help the situation.
Mind you, see, the thing is, I've had the most fantastic career. I mean, yacht design, boat design is just It's not well paid, or the bit I do isn't well paid, but it's so exciting and everything else. It's great. I love it. And it's quite likely that if I had not had the diabetes, I would have ended up on a warship in 1982 in the Falklands, and I've probably got my bottom shot off. So actually, it's like anything else in life, isn't it? You're going to take it to the card. So I'm just putting in one or two little details. And with any painting, and then, you know, we've got boats here, so that this is quite easy because you've got glass, you can't get away from that. In any painting, if you get some lampposts in, or trees, or whatever else, anything vertical, then that's great, because verticals, in any scene, especially street scenes and so forth, they tie the bottom of the painting to the top. So they're good to have. So there we go, there's some of the detail I work on. On the barge, we'll put in a mooring post and so forth there. So that begins to come together now a little bit.
Yeah, good. Is this going to be an exhibition at the weekend?
Yes, but not this one.
Oh,
I've done it before, but smaller, so the smaller version will go in. See how this one comes out. But the sailing took me from the East Coast to the Thames, which is where although my book is based on, where we had all sorts of tears, learning about life and so forth. And then up to Newcastle and then Scotland, West Coast, where I started out as a professional yacht designer and naval architect with two very, very famous companies. I'll come back to those in a minute. Where I spent most of my time just racing. Admiral's Cup and all sorts and so forth. Incredible experience. And now what I'll do is I'll do one or two little reflections, get those going. We're almost, in many respects, we're almost there to some extent. Reflection. I find that with reflections, with moss, we've got the sprit coming off here, the diagonal, and that should really go in, but I find if you do that too much, it's strange. Reflections are always better when they're vertical. Of course, East Coast here, this all dries out, which is why when the barges would sail up and then wait for the tide to go out, this at the bottom, carts would come down with wheat and cement and God knows what else, and then wait for the tide to rise and they would sail off. But if you, like I did on silverfish, especially further around, there's a place called Tollsbury Creek. And the channel is marked by withies, and withies are basically branches of trees or so forth, rammed into the water, rammed into the... and if you don't catch the right withy at the right point, and the tide's going out, you tend to end up lying on your side all night, which is not very comfortable. Right, so what I'll do now is tie that in over here. Put in some flats. When I say flats, I mean mud flats. And as we get closer to the eye, closer to the foreground here, I'll put a little bit more on to darken them up, make them a bit richer. bit more burnt umber, a bit more violet. And the nice thing about this paper is it's got quite a good tooth to it, which means it's quite rough. It means you can drag a brush over it and end up with a nice speckled effect. A little bit too much light there, so I'm going to cut that down a bit. This is where you start to look at the painting and just a bit of reflection in there. And just start rebalancing it, getting the arrangement correct. Some darker markings of rocks and so forth in the foreground.
Why do you paint so many sunsets, Paul?
I don't actually.
Don't you?
No, I've done several over the last couple of months. I haven't done them for years.
It's your sunset period, is it?
This is my orange sunset.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, almost there. I'm just going to dry that off very quickly. And then flick in a few more dirty ones. Now, when you take off masking fluid, what you should do, and masking fluid with music, don't leave it on overnight, because it really sticks to the paper. And when you try to take it off later on, it'll very often take the surface of the paper off too. What I should do is go to the loo and wash my hands. You should always work with clean hands when you're doing this. That's a little bit too stark. Splatter them up there, so good. Okay. If you don't clean your hands, then you find if you put a pencil on, it'll just muddy up and dirty up and so forth. So some of those marks are just a little bit too much. I'll just cut some of those out. That hasn't come out too well. Won't worry too much about that. A little bit of speckle down here. Again, a bit too much. So what I'm going to do is just come into the foreground here. I want to really take the eye in, so I'm just going to put in some random smudgy marks. If you ever do sail on the East Coast, it's just mud, and it's pouring stuff if it gets stuck to your boots. Of course, we're in the land here of the will-o'-the-wisp, where sailors, especially after a night on the booze, get led astray, not by barmaids, but by the wisp, which takes them further across the mud flats to their death and doom. Okay, that's a bit better. Right, I could do more to that, but I won't. I think that's enough.
Looks great.
And what I haven't done is I haven't brought in a mouse. If I bring in a mouse, it looks a lot better actually. Okay.
Very subtle,
But
isn't it? Very subtle.
washes, two different washes, one over the other. Can you see how blue wash, cobalt are going over the yellow and so forth? You do get a slight green tinge, and that's two transparent washes over each other. That's perfectly okay. But when you're putting on two different washes like that, you've got to make sure that the first wash is bone dry before you put the second wash on. And it's a good idea, even though the blue on this was mainly on the side, I didn't take it across here, it's a good idea to put the water on right the way across. And that way you don't get hard edges with the second wash. And then the rest of it, just use complementary colours. So we've got blue and orange and red in the background and so forth. This brown and ultramarine blue and so forth is complementary to that, so it works, the two work very, very well together. And that's basically the only colours I use, apart from the washes. The final colour all around here and so forth was simply burnt umber, which is that lovely reddy brown, violet, and maybe a little bit of ultramarine blue here and there. And then just simple shapes. And you can see here we've got a lot of background stuff going on, just 1 or 2 flippy masks. They're not, some of them aren't even attached to boats, it doesn't really matter too much. And you end up with quite a nice arrangement.
Okay.
Good. Okay.